interesting yesterday. Anthony Martin came home as the winner in that first race. Made a comment about the cooler temperatures today. Rob has made his way up to the broadcast booth. Yesterday was a warm day as compared to today especially. And Rob, you made a comment after winning that race yesterday that the cooler temperatures, to quote him, will affect my car handling a lot. It'll go through the data tonight. We'll go through the data tonight, meaning last night, and make the adjustments. What sort of adjustments are we talking about?
Well, you know, we've talked about the fact that with these cool temperatures, the engines actually really like it. We saw that in Pro Mazda. They're going to be developing a lot of horsepower. And in fact, the Pro Mazda drivers went about a second quicker than they did in the afternoon session yesterday, their first of two races here this week. And I think just the cooler temperatures puts the onus on the tires as well. And the tires actually stepped up very well. We talked to the winner of the Pro Mazda race, Pato O'Ward, and he said, man, I was surprised with how great the tires stuck early. So these Coopers are doing their job for these young drivers. But again, if you have a slipperier racetrack, you kind of dial a little more mechanical grip into it. You don't really want to do it with aero, put too much aero in because you take away from your top speed. More just mechanical grip to try to get some more stick to the tires.
All right, from a novice question then, does the situation has changed now? They've not been back on the track since yesterday's race, correct?
Very true.
Are they liable to get a little bit of a surprise when they take off? The engine maybe want to go a little better. That right likes the air. The tires are going to be different with the cooler temperatures. It could be a shock going into turn one down there.
Well, you know, the Pro Mazda drivers have a couple more years under their belt in the Mazda Road Indy. They handle it really well. We've got some 15, 16, and 17-year-olds in this particular race. They haven't had to deal with these kind of pressures, these kind of changing conditions throughout a weekend. So we may see something. That and the fact that we had, 12 or 13 Pro Mazdas, we have 26 USF 2000s. We'll double the fun in this one here.
It's about 20 degrees cooler today than it was yesterday when these young men and women took to the track. And speaking of women, you mentioned when you were introducing the lineup, we've got a young lady in this field who's apparently doing quite well.
Isla Agren, a very impressive young driver, working her way through, obviously her home racing in Norway, ran karts, open wheels, worked her way into the Formula 1600 series and won the championship. She's going to start in the 10th position, and right now, folks, here they come down the front straightaway, and we have a green flag flying. We are now underway as the green flag is shown here at start finish. And again, here's what we were looking for. What kind of run do we have in and out of turn number one? Parker Thompson, of course, the pole sitter, going to keep that car right at the bottom of the racetrack. He'll roll through turn number one, and all we're going to do is cross our fingers and hope that these young kids can get through here.
Now, this is the important. You can't win it here, as they love to say, but you can lose it right here.
That's so very true. We use that line all the time. It is an opportunity to gain positions, no doubt about it, but you can also have some trouble. We did have one driver, I believe, going around near the tail of the field. One of our national competitors, I believe, going around. But for the first time, they're through the S's, 5 and 6, down the Holman Boulevard to turn number 7. You can see them working hard, 2, 3 wide as they come down into that difficult braking zone.
That should be the Figueres car, should it not? That's had a problem down there in the number 1 corner, actually the number 2 turn.
Good possibility. Eric Figueres, the winner yesterday in National, may have looped it around. He was quicker than his team, the other drivers in the National class. If he gets back on track and gets rolling here, he may be able to catch back up. But I'll tell you, fairly impressive thus far. But no, full course yellow being thrown. I think we had an issue over in turn number 7, Jerry. We didn't get a chance to see it on the big screen, but I think we had a couple cars getting together in turn number 7.
That's Jordan Kane, the 81 machine that's after that hard left-hand turn coming off of Holman Boulevard. That's apparently some kind of an issue down there. The rest of the field pretty well together, stacked together. And keeping an eye on Max Hanratty, likewise, who is trailing the field. Here they come across the start-finish line here.
Looks like the number 18 of Dakota Dickerson could have been involved as well. Those were the drivers just inside the top 10. Dickerson in that Mazda Soul Red car, the sponsorship and the scholarship from Mazda. Looks like he may have been involved in that. Jordan Kane, just 15 years of age, a driver out of the UK, came over last year to run in the F2000 championship, or the F1600 championship series, and won a bunch of races after missing the first couple. He's a young kid in this series. Looks like Cameron Doss involved as well, I believe, in the number 92, as we're kind of seeing some of the numbers that are involved. And here's the driver off in turn number 1 as well. I don't think we were able to get the number on that driver quite yet. But there is a driver off, I believe, in turn number 1 as well. So a little bit of carnage on the opening lap. Being told that Dakota Dickerson's going to head into pit lane, potentially a rear wing damage for Dakota. So obviously he was not the driver who made that mistake. If someone drove into the back of him, tough one for Dakota, rookie driver in the program.
You know, and I know that you're a director of competition, as happens at every facet of racing, warns you and warns you and warns you. Turn number one. Be careful. And yet we see it. We saw it yesterday with the Indy Lights cars in their race.
Yeah, with the younger drivers here in the Mazda Road to Indy, they're all so aggressive. They all want to win. The scholarship's obviously very important to them, but they want to show themselves. They want to be able to come in immediately and make a name for themselves. And we saw that at our first round at St. Petersburg. We had a big wreck in the opening corner. It's actually a front wing on Dakota Dickerson, so he may have been involved in causing that wreck as they went into turn number 7. Lost the front wing. They'll be able to get that replaced fairly quickly. I think the rear wing would have been a lot tougher for Dakota. If they're able to get that fixed, they may be able to get him back out on the racetrack here before we go back to green.
Makes a lot of sense, though, Rob, because those guys were starting 9th and 10th, so they were literally side by side, or right together anyway.
And there really are two big opportunities to pass on the opening lap. Into turn number 1, of course, into turn number 7. At the end of the 2 long straightaways here, that's the best opportunity for these drivers to make that pass under braking, heavy braking in both of those areas of the racetrack. And you can see another Cameron Doss loses his front wing as well. So
in fact, he was also part of that trio. They were starting right next to each other.
Seems to me like they might have just stacked each other up. Someone might have got on the brakes early and kind of just stacked everybody up there over in turn number 7. We had a good beat on it with the video feed, but of course they turned and followed the leaders as they came through 7, 8, and 9. But what this does is essentially set everything in for the run when we get back to green. Parker Thompson able to hold things off at the start. He was able to get the lead over Franzoni. Victor Franzoni gets a spot. Started, I believe, 4th, able to get his way up into 2nd for Victor, the young Brazilian. Jordan Lloyd, the Aussie. Actually, Aussies run 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The Australian drivers, Jordan Lloyd, Anthony Martin, and Luke Gavin. 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the order.
I heard you talking yesterday about the guys from Australia, the entrants from Australia. They become a real dominant force in this, not just this particular racing category, but all the way through.
You know what? One of the things they have is their own internal ladder system, which works really good. The organization in Australia takes care of their karting program, and they do a great job with Australian karting. They always kick out some great drivers. But they also have a really good Formula 1600 program, so that nice step up for the drivers right out of karting into F1600. And of course, F1600, the absolute best way to be able to train yourself to come and run in the Mazda Road to Indy.
And is their goal the same as some of the guys and gals we see in the Indy Lights? Is it still trying to climb that ladder, so to speak?
Well, I think when you have a guy like Will Power, who's kind of one of the heroes down there in Australia, a guy you could watch for. It's the same thing's happening up in Canada. People are wanting to be like James Hinchcliffe. They want to work their way up the ranks. And I think when you have that guy who's one of the stars and one of the successes in the Verizon IndyCar Series, it just lends that these kids want to emulate him and try to work their way up the ranks as well.
And I think those two drivers you just mentioned also understand the impact that they're having on those young drivers. They are kind of the idols, if you will, and I think they enjoy that persona of saying, okay, I'm kind of leading the way. I can see a Hinchcliffe coming in from Hinchtown and saying, okay, this is going to be something that I can contribute to the racing world right now.
One of the things that James Hinchcliffe actually did was have a bit of a scholarship program back in Canada. They picked a number of 4 or 5 young go-kart racers they thought who were in need of maybe some help moving up the ranks, and actually had them running at the Bridgestone Racing Academy, where James got his initial racing license, and they do a shootout. They do a day of the racetrack where they get a chance to actually do some racing.
That's super. And of course, money is always an issue at every level of racing.
Yeah, it's part of the game. You have to, it's a I don't want to say it's a rich man's game, but it costs money to go racing. It just does. There's a lot of consumables. As we drive our cars and trucks at home, and we put a set of tires on every couple of years. These guys put 3 or 4 or 5 sets on a weekend.
I was this takes me back all of a sudden to 4 or 5 years ago, Rob, when I was covering in the pit area of the Indy Lights race, and there was a young man who we'd never heard of before who was in the race. And he ran. In fact, that was his only race, by the way. And I said, you have a car with no decals on it. Well, who's your sponsor? And he said, Daddy's money. And I thought, oh, okay, I see how this works now.
Very honest, at least. Very honest. And that is the key. Is the case in many instances of drivers working their way up the ranks. It's family money. They're having to be able to invest in their children, whether it's a formal education at a school or an education here at the racetrack. I firmly believe, myself included, that I probably learned more being at the racetrack than I ever did being in school, because it's just, this is the ways of life.
Yeah. Now they're heading toward Holloman Boulevard, heading south on Holloman Boulevard. We're still under yellow. A couple of cars were involved early on in this event. Kane and Dickerson and Doss were all involved. So let's hope. It looks like that they've gotten back out on the race course.
Yeah, being told right now, Jerry, that the number 5, potentially Austin McCusker, could be leaking some oil on the racetrack right now. I think they've got him pulled off the racetrack, but it did oil the track down a little bit. So, of course, they're going out to make sure that the track is still fine. You can see the Hamaltro safety crew out there checking out the racing line, because definitely something we don't want to do is send these drivers out with a slick track and somebody's oiled down the racing line. So just a little break in the action right now. We hope to go green again shortly. Of the 3 drivers involved in the incident in turn number 7, Cameron Doss, the only driver not able to continue. He's parked the number 92 on pit lane. Dakota Dickerson and Jordan Kane both back on the racetrack. There'll be 2 drivers to watch here, starting 22nd and 23rd on the restart. Got to give a lot of props to Luke Gavin as well. What a rough, I want to say, it's been hot and cold for him. And qualifying, he was able to go out there, turn some amazing laps, actually set the fast lap of the race, but he blew through the checkered flag, went one complete full other lap around the racetrack. And you talked about the director of competition laying down the law. Well, our race director said at the drivers' meeting, if you blow the checker and go for another lap, we will take all of your laps away from qualifying.
Well, we had that happen in the IndyCar yesterday.
Well, yeah, there was one driver, you're right.
Yeah.
Juan Pablo Montoya, I believe.
Pablo Montoya.
Yeah, but he only got a 5-minute penalty.
Yeah, that's right.
We blew our guys no times at all.
Well, the 5-minute penalty didn't affect him a great deal because he came out on his first hot lap and went to the top of the speed charge, but then was very quickly shoved down to the bottom, missed the Fast 6.
One of the things, though, with these young drivers in the Mazda Road to Indy, and teaching any young race car driver, you have to lay down the law.
Yeah.
And our race director, I think, did the right thing. He said, do not do it. If you do, this will be the penalty. These are your consequences. And he did it, and there were the consequences. Now, that set up for a fantastic run yesterday. Luke Gavin lost all of his qualifying times, started dead last in the field, 26, and drove his way up to 6th position.
That's good.
A tremendous run for him.
A learning experience, as they like to say.
A couple of them, I think, right? Not only did he get a chance to pass all those cars and learn how to do some more passing, he also learned his lesson from blowing the checkered flag in qualifying. But he's going to be a challenge here, I think. I'll tell you, Luke Gavin is strong right now. He's finished in the top 5 for the first 4 races, 6th yesterday. So five consecutive top 6 finishes for Luke Gavin. That's the kind of consistency you need to be able to win a championship. Being told we're going to go green next time by. Drivers, of course, working their way down that back straightaway, trying to keep the heat built into these Cooper tires, because they're going to need it when they roll down into turn number 1 to get this restart underway.
I would suspect that Thompson's going to try to separate himself from that number 2 car. However, there are some limitations. He can't get too big of a jump.
Well, he's obviously the first guy to get the punch off when they come back out here. Okay, being told we're still going full course yellow, just to update those of you here around the racetrack or listening live on the Mazda Road to Indy app or on IndyCar.com. Apparently, there is still some oil on the racetrack, potentially turn number 10 right now, Jerry. So the safety crew will get out there and get that oil cleaned up. Our time winding down here. We're almost just past the 11-minute mark of this 30-minute session. It is a timed session for USF 2000.
See the field coming at the south end of the race course. And right at the Penn entrance area right now as they come by. Thompson, Franzoni, Lloyd, Martin, and Gavin. That's your top 5. I think back yesterday to the Indy Lights race when we had almost a runaway situation, and then the yellow came out with the final 3 or 4 or 5 laps to go and turned into one heck of a race.
Oh, what a lap that was. The lap right after the restart was absolutely unbelievable. You are correct. Dean Stoneman was able to go down to the bottom to the inside of Ed Jones to take the position, but Santiarutti was on the outside. They were essentially 3 wide going into turn number 1. Ed pushed a little wide. Santi came down the inside, and then, of course, it was Dean Stoneman versus Santiarutti over in turn number 7, and Ed Jones ended up actually coming out with the race win as they almost took each other out up front.
In fact, Jones made a comment in the post-race session. He said, I could see what was potentially going to develop, and I kind of got out of the way and let them go ahead and deal with each other, and he just zoomed right on by him.
And that's another example of a second-year driver in the series. I don't think Ed would have did that last year. He probably would have thrown his car to the inside and tried to make it, two drivers down the bottom. Wisely, having won a race already this year, sitting good in points, he was smart, was just able to pull down the inside and actually essentially take his regular racing line as both Stoneman and Santiaruzzi pushed wide at the exit of turn number 7. It was a wild one for sure. We may see the same thing here, but I will say this, Parker Thompson, he's going to be the one that gets the punch off first when they come out of and onto the front straightaway. He'll be the one that sets the pace early. He was challenged at Barber Motorsports Park as well through a couple of yellow flags and handled them very well. He was able to get a really good start, defended on the opening lap, and then was able to pull a bit of a gap. So he's already shown his ability to manage these restarts. Now, a little different here in Indianapolis when you have such a long run down. You're going to get that slipstream going down into turn number 1.
Rob, a question, a technical question, so to speak. Are they in communication, the drivers in communication with their pits, based on the fact that this is a timed race? Do they know time-wise where they stand on the clock?
Oh, I have no doubt they'll be told exactly before we go back to green how much time is left. They're always on the radio with their crews, and they're definitely going to know that we're going to have probably 15 minutes to go when we get back going again. We're 13 and a half minutes down. The Hamalcho safety crew going to work again, getting this track cleaned up. We dropped a little bit of oil down in turn number 10. You can see them working on it there. The driver was obviously swerving to keep his tires warm when he was dropping the oil because it is a very curvy oil slick all the way down through turn number 10, as you said.
And one of the safety crew members is still out on the race course, so obviously, unless he gets off of there in a hurry, we're going to go yellow again.
I have a feeling we'll probably stay yellow for another couple of laps. Once they get it down and get it rubbed in a little bit, they'll probably want these drivers to drive over top of the speedy dry a little bit first before they go back to green. So, again, we're going to lose significant time here in the middle of this race. And this is something that happens in USF 2000, and we hate it. But it's just the case. These young drivers get anxious, and there are times when we have a couple of wrecks. It's happened in St. Petersburg, Jerry. We had the very first race of the year. Into turn number 1, of course, 5, 6 wide, and they all try to funnel down in, and we had a lot of contact, 3 or 4 cars being damaged. Well, we circulate under yellow, get things fixed up, get everything cleaned up. Everybody gets back to green. We get them back into position. And there was another wreck on the restart again.
Well, the downside of this is, the other downside to it is the fact, even though they're on the racetrack, they're not getting competitive laps. And so in a timed race like this where you might get, you might get 25 laps or something of that neighborhood, you're not going to get that
No,
many.
exactly right. We may get, if we're lucky, we're going to get maybe 10 laps, 8 to 10 laps. And that's one of the things that's the big downfall, because really all we're trying to do here in USF 2000 is give these drivers as much track time as possible. We run double headers at all our events. So they're all two races, except for Mid-Ohio. We actually do a triple header for our USF 2000 drivers. They get 3 races. We have the opportunity to do it. And the key is to give these guys as much experience as we possibly can.
So Jordan Lloyd will lead the pack as he has for the past several laps. I beg your pardon, Thompson will be out front. They're showing the 2-car of Thompson as the lead car, and they're all on Holman Boulevard, heading south on Holman Boulevard, and we're just waiting for the green to show up.
Again, just wait for this track to get cleaned up. The Hamalcho safety crew doing their best to get that oil cleaned up over in turn number 10. And again, as we said, Parker Thompson, the young Canadian driver, started on the pole position, will lead them back to the green in the white number 2, the Weyburn Energy Uber entry. One of the great things about Parker, just a great young man out of Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. They're trying to raise a bit of money here this weekend as well for the families that were affected by the terrible fire, the forest fire we had at Fort McMurray. He's got hashtag Alberta Strong on the side of that car. That's the hashtag that's being used to raise awareness, of course, for the people that were displaced out of their homes with that horrible brush fire, the bushfire that we had. It continues to burn, and they're working on that still, and a number of families obviously forced out of their homes there, and the Red Cross trying to raise some money for them.
Each night, Rob, on the national news, that's one of the major stories, and I just sit there in awe of what is going on up there. I don't think I've ever seen a fire quite that big. And then the men and women firefighters living 24 hours a day trying to fight that thing.
Amazing what they do out there. And again, to think about what they're trying to do to, number one, save the fire, and number two, save the people of the community of Fort McMurray as well. So
I'm seeing houses that there's nothing there anymore, several of them.
And the pictures, obviously the video that we saw, people actually trying to escape Fort McMurray with the fires burning all around them. It was unbelievable.
That was a frightening, I've thought about race cars and how dangerous that is. And then I saw these passenger cars driving down roads with fires on both sides of them.
It was incredible. And obviously, Parker Thompson living very close there in Red Deer, Alberta, so something very near and dear to his heart. That's good for Parker to obviously step up. He does a number of things like that. A very quality young man, Parker Thompson, has his own Drive to Stay Alive initiative as well to try to convince the young Canadian teenagers not to text and drive. Parker's a young kid with a lot of talent, both behind the wheel and outside of the race car as well. He will lead them when they come back around, and hopefully we'll go green soon. Victor Franzoni in second. Jordan Lloyd leads the Aussie contingent, third, fourth, and fifth. Jordan Lloyd in the 21. Anthony Martin in the 8, and Luke Gabin in the number 91. Yufeng Luo, the Chinese driver living in Los Angeles, the reigning SCCA Formula Continental champion, won that title last year at Daytona International Speedway. He's with Pabst Racing in the 6th position in the black number 23. The white number 3 of Nikita Listoshkin runs in 7th. Garth Ricard's the American driver in the 22 in 8th. Lucas Cole in 9th, and Mackay Stevens in the number 19. Way to work his way up to 10th. Mackay started all the way back in 21st, but was obviously able to avoid the melee in turn 1, and the melee as well over in turn number 7. And he finds himself up in 10th position. What a great opening lap for Mackay, able to stay out of trouble.
We talk a lot about time differentials, and for those up there and watching it from the stands area, yesterday Martin won it with a time of 30 minutes, 24 seconds, but that's a speed of 96 miles an hour. And that, of course, is slowed down by yellows and things of this nature. We'll have nothing like that from an average
we will
today.
not. But it was a huge win yesterday for Anthony Martin, the young Australian driver. A number of podiums last year en route to a Rookie of the Year campaign in USF 2000. Last year driving for John Comiskey Racing. He moved over to the multi-time championship squad, Cape Motorsports, with Wayne Taylor Racing this year, and really hasn't got the results that he wants out of the start of the season. It's been very competitive up front. Cape Motorsports drivers had a little bit of a rough go at St. Petersburg. We're not able to put a driver on the podium the first time that happened since 2010. But Jordan Lloyd rolled off the trailer very strongly here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. And he was the man to beat yesterday, and well-deserved victory for him as he was able to go to the top of the podium here in Victory Lane at IMS.
We're indicating one more lap to go.
I like it.
Rob, I'm just looking at the clock here. The time to go is now right at 10 minutes. So we're talking about 3 laps, 4 laps,
maybe 4 or 5. Yeah, probably. I'm hoping for 5. I'm going to hope for 5. Let's tell you that. But yeah, by the time we get back around here at a slow time, we're going to be around the 8-minute to go mark. This is going to be a very quick push to the checkered flag.
So if you had a game plan, toss it out the window right now.
Yeah, we're not worried about how good your car is going to be after 20 laps now. You got to go hard. It's going to take that long, probably 5 laps, before these tires really start to come up to their optimum operating temperature. But when they come across the checkered flag, it's going to be the best they're going to be. So this will be interesting to see what happens once we get going back to green. Hate it, the fact that we've lost so much of the green flag running time here, but what we're going to set up for is an exciting finish. Parker Thompson, Victor Franzoni, Jordan Lloyd, Anthony Martin, Luke Gabin, top 5, all looking to grab a race win. Thompson's got a couple already. Lloyd has one, Luo has one, and of course, Anthony Martin winning one just yesterday. The only drivers in the top 6 that have not yet won here this year, Victor Franzoni and Luke Gabin. Franzoni has 3 race wins already to his credit from years past. Gabin has not yet tasted victory in USF 2000 competition. That could happen today as well, as he will launch from P5.
You see the cars on the video boards trying to keep those tires as warm and as clean as possible. But they've been riding around now for about a half a dozen laps.
Lights are out on the pace car. Yep. This is what we want to see. Now it'll go into the hands of Parker Thompson. As I said, he was able to defend on a restart at Barber Motorsports Park to score his first win in USF 2000 competition. Can he do it again here today to put a Canadian on top of the podium here at Indianapolis? We'll see. They'll stack all up behind him. He's going to slow him down, working his way through. He wants him as slow as possible because he wants to punch off first. Nice start coming through. Wing to gearbox, wing to gearbox, wing to gearbox. They are stacked up like a train. Thompson's going to roll them out onto the straightaway here, and we will go green this time by with 8 minutes remaining. Green, green, green. Thompson staying right down on the wall. Franzoni with them. The number 8 of Martin looking to the outside now, trying to find a way by the 21 of Lloyd. They are lined up, the front 4 drivers. Now they'll spray out coming into turn number 1. Still, Parker Thompson to the bottom. They'll try to work their way through here. Thompson able to defend coming through turn 1. He has the line through turn number 2. Franzoni right there. And then it's, I believe, Martin in the number 8 by Lloyd.
We are getting an indication the start is under review. I didn't see much from our vantage point.
I'm not sure if they're just going to say that they didn't like the speed that Parker might have brought them up here, but we'll see. He's the pole sitter. He sets the pace, and he now leads.
Isn't he in charge at that particular point in time?
That's what I would say.
He thought so, too.
Let's see if they're able to get through turn number 7 cleanly. One move to the bottom. There's a pass further back. That's Yufeng Luo going by. I might have went by Luke Gavin. Either Gavin or Lloyd losing a spot to Yufeng Luo to the inside of turn 7. So a solid pass there. Again, first time at speed through the area of the track, turn 10 with the speedy dry down. It's going to be a little slicker for those drivers, but they're all doing a fantastic job. Parker Thompson, though, with probably 3 lengths over Franzoni as they work their way back.
And we're just under 7 minutes of racing time remaining in this particular event for the US 2000 guys and gals. And so far, so good this time.
A little further back, good battle here between one of the Pelfrey cars. I think that's, I want to say, Fisher, TJ Fisher and Nikita Listoshkin likely going at it here. Thompson resets fast lap of the race.
Good battle for 9th back in the pack as you look at Fisher being one of those guys, Rickards, Listoshkin, they are all battling for position back there.
3 different teams as well. Ricard's running for Pabst Racing, Listoshkin for Cape, Fisher for Team Pelfrey. Being told we have an issue in turn number 12, the number 15 of Brendan Puderbach going around, local yellow in that corner. So turn 15, a bit of an issue.
That's right at the entrance to the pit area.
It is. The transition back off the short chute there between 1 and 2. Issue again. It looks like the number 6 was involved as well. Number 6 being Max Hanratty getting involved. That turn number 7, end of the Holman Boulevard there, Jerry. People are liking making the inside pass there.
That's an interesting place. That's a great spectator area, by the way.
Yes,
if you ever want to come to the races and watch something, that's a great area right in there.
You can see a lot of people already up on the mounds, the spectator mounds over in turn 7. That 7, 8, 9 combination, very important part of the racetrack, especially for this USF 2000 category. Great opportunity to slipstream and make the pass to the inside. Yufeng Luo getting the pass on, we believe, either Jordan Lloyd or Luke Gavin. We'll see when they come back around here. But nonetheless, Parker Thompson got himself about a 5 or 6 car length lead over Victor Franzoni now. And here comes Anthony Martin. Martin about a 10th quicker than Franzoni. He's trying to go to 2nd. Being told we have a penalty on the number 11 of Armington, Robert Armington, getting a drive-through penalty for contact at the start. That's one of our drivers in the national class. He was actually the leader, I believe, of national as well, and he's getting a drive-through. Tough one for Robert Armington, as it's now Vandenbush out front.
This is interesting, Rob, from yesterday and watching the race, when you guys were working this thing, they set out with the separation as we come down the straightaway here, separation, and it just seems to never change. It's difficult to get up on that guy in front of you.
And this series is so competitive this year. It's absolutely unbelievable, the great drivers we have. Another drive-through penalty getting laid down for the number 6 of Max Hanratty. That was the contact he had with Brendan Puderbach. So Hanratty being issued a drive-through penalty. But again, you're right. These drivers are so close. You know, we talked to Dakota Dickerson yesterday, Jerry, and I think it was 2 days ago, actually, in his practice session. Unbelievable. The guy gets a half a second quicker. He jumps from 13th to 7th or 10th on the grid. another tenth of a second would have put him 7th. It's a couple tenths of a second apart. It's just unbelievable how close it is up top.
Yeah, we talk about fractions of a second, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, and to you and me, just layman, that doesn't mean much. But on the racetrack, it's big.
Oh, it's a huge amount.
I see that Martin's up the number 3 spot now, and this is the guy that won the race yesterday. You think he's got anything left for the front runners?
Well, he's right there. There's a good train of 5 drivers in this lead group now. Of course, the leader is Thompson in the number 2, Franzoni in the number 9, Martin in the number 8, Luke Gabbard in the 91. I said he was going to be aggressive here as well. Just 3 minutes, I believe, remaining in the session here. 5. They've given a little extra time. 5 minutes being told left in the session, so maybe a little extra time given to our USF 2000 drivers here. But Martin, looking at lap times, he was about 2 tenths of a second slower than Franzoni last time by. It's going to be tough for him to win this one because, number one, he's going to have to get by Franzoni first, then get by his teammate now. Unless Franzoni decides to start battling for the lead, that may open things up. If Parker Thompson has to start thinking about the driver behind him aggressively as opposed to holding on to that position, we could find ourselves with a different story here.
Yeah, Franzoni's showing 3 tenths of a second behind Thompson, and then almost 9 tenths of a second is Martin. Then it goes to 1.3, so it's basically a 3-horse race right now.
Well, you know what, Barber Motorsports Park, Parker Thompson was challenged aggressively in both main events, and he didn't flinch even one time, and that's what leads me to believe that he may be able to bring it home here and put a Canadian driver on the top of the podium here at Indianapolis as he's working nicely down the front straightaway again. You got to expect just a couple more laps remaining. Thompson just a half a second ahead coming down into turn number 1 here. Top 5 drivers all together.
Yep.
We will see the white flag next time by, Jerry.
Basically a 5-car breakaway, if you will. It's somewhat of a gap between 5 and 6. And as they head toward Holman Boulevard to the back stretch, if you're going to make your move, this is the time to get it done.
Looks to me like Parker Thompson's been able to stretch a pretty solid little cushion here right now, a little breathing room for the penultimate lap as he works his way down to 7. Victor Franzoni on the podium in 3rd yesterday, looking to take 2nd here today. I think he'll be pretty pleased with a couple of podiums to leave here for Arms Up Motorsports.
They head toward what would be number 2 turn in the original configuration of the racetrack, and it is still no change up front. Still Thompson doing a good job.
Parker Thompson looking to win his 3rd race of the season. Again, swept both main events at Barber Motorsports Park to take the point lead. Stretched the lead a little bit yesterday with a solid finish on the podium. Looking to try to do it again here today. Thompson will see the white flag, we believe, from Tom Hansing this time by. Indeed, the white flag being shown here at start-finish. Another drive-through for Max Hanratty. Was too quick last time through, so adding insult to injury to Hanratty as he's back down pit lane again. But here's the rundown into turn number 1. Franzoni slower by about 2 tenths of a second on that last lap, a 126.663 for Thompson. He leads by almost 8 tenths of a second and now just needs to not make a mistake. We had a move there for the 3rd position, Jerry. Luke Gabbin able to get by Anthony Martin. So Gabbin in the number 91 goes into 3rd.
That's a great move. A very timed move, if you will. Catch up and then set him up and then go by him. Good job.
Luke Gabbin needed a finish like this. Again, I told you, started dead last after losing his qualifying times. Came up to 6th position. This would be his 6th straight top 6 finish of the year. Consistency for the J Motorsports driver. But right now, it's all about Parker Thompson as he looks to win here at Indianapolis. The driver from Red Deal, Alberta, with hashtag Alberta Strong on the side of his car. He's going to donate a bunch of money to the Red Cross to help out those good folks who were displaced from their homes in Fort McMurray, Alberta. And he is going to do it here with an exclamation point. Coming out of the final couple of corners of the racetrack, the Cape Motorsports with Wayne Taylor Racing Pile looking to extend his championship point lead here at the Speedway. Down the front straightaway, your winner in USF 2000. Aggressive fist pump out of the cockpit, Parker Thompson. Winning in USF 2000. Victor Franzoni in 2nd, Luke Gabbin 3rd, Anthony Martin 4th, and Jordan Lloyd rounding out your top 5. Yufeng Luo, Garth Ricards, Lucas Cole, TJ Fisher, and Robert McGinnis rounding out your top 10. And Jerry, you've seen a lot of races here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's great to see the enthusiasm of the young drivers.
Well, that's the future of the sport, to be perfectly blunt about it. And you mentioned these are teenagers.
Yeah, they are. Only 18 years of age for Parker Thompson. Again, we have 15, 16-year-olds in this field as well, all the way up to 21, 22. And just to see these kids get to this racetrack and be able to find the success is so fulfilling for those of us involved in the Road to Indy.
And you have a suspicion that they might want to hang around this afternoon and watch the big boys go out.
I have a feeling they will, because there's a bunch of drivers like Spencer Piggott, like Matthew Brabham, who followed in their footsteps, or with the footsteps they'll want to follow, coming through USF 2000 and Pro Mazda. Both Brabham and Piggott, lots of wins in USF 2000.
And Brabham was very impressive yesterday for the first time being in the on the road course here. He went out and made some noise in those practice in the qualifying sessions.
Especially with the trouble he had in the practice sessions on Thursday. Yep. He did not get a lot of laps in the trouble with the left rear, trouble with, I believe, some brakes in one of the sessions as well. When he came out yesterday for qualifying, I was impressed to see him jump to the top.
Well, the gene factor comes into play there.
There is some DNA in that one, isn't there? So we're happy to see a big win for Parker Thompson. Again, Victor Franzoni back-to-back podiums as well. And Luke Gabin really able to recover from the issues he had in qualifying where he lost all his laps here, able to come home third place today. A pair of top 6 finishes for that young Australian driver.
In your mind, had we not had the number of laps with a yellow condition that really shortened the field, shortened the race, if you will, anything might have changed?
Well, I think everybody would have been making a move on Thompson. I think they could have been more aggressive potentially, and I think that maybe Luke Gabin might have been able to get there because he was very strong all weekend long. He was very quick in qualifying. Even though those times didn't stand, he did set a new record here for USF 2000. I think he might have been able to work his way up there.